The Niners are a team they're one of the most intriguing teams from a betting perspective coming into the year. 2-6 in one-score games. That's another big indicator. Over a large enough sample size, for those who don't know this, you hear this in the gambling community it's all the rage this time of year, and you'll hear it with a team like Kansas City. We can get to them in a minute. One-score games decided by one score, 8 or fewer points if you factor in the two-point conversion. Over a large enough body of work, sample size, say 500 games, you should be 500 in those games. You should be 250 and 250. Every now and again, you hit the game-winning field goal. Every now and again, they do. Every now and again, your game-winning drive stalls out. Every now and again, theirs does. Large enough body of work, you should be 50-50. Anytime you see a team that far outside the average, so 8-1 in one-score games. Kansas City last year, 12-0 in one-score games, right? That is a sign that at some point, again, here's the R word, regression, like it's coming for you. And when you look at the Niners being 2-6 in one-score games, yeah, that's another positive for the Niners coming into this season. Just like the injuries are another positive, just like the schedule is.
That's Joe Fortenbaugh. ESPN has built all its betting analysis around his genius. Today he talks about the Niners over under 10.5 wins, their odds to win the NFC West, the conference, and some other teams' bets that he likes and teams that he thinks are overvalued.
The Niners fall into that category of 2 years ago, we saw them in the Super Bowl. Naturally, the way they had played for 4 or 5 years, the thought is that they will just continue to be a force in the NFC. And there were a lot of indicators last year that said this team's going to drop off. And number one was just health, outright health. We take it for granted. You can measure it to an extent, and you can predict it to an extent. Teams that tend to be the healthiest or the unhealthiest year over year, there's going to be a regression to the mean in that category. Just like with shooting regression we're talking about in the NBA playoffs, most famously Celtics-Knicks first 2 games, you see this with health as well. And the Niners, and this is the common theme of all Super Bowl teams, is that they're very healthy teams. That's what it needs to be to get to the Super Bowl. So when we talk about this curse of the Super Bowl loser, it's not so much a curse as it is a healthy team that suddenly is going to undergo some injuries. And that's what we saw last year with the Niners. So now people start to check out on them. Bookmakers drop the number down to 10.5. A, should be a lot healthier this year. B, easiest schedule in the NFL, and we can get into that. And then C, plenty of key players at key positions still back in the fold. Over 10.5 wins is something to like, at least in my opinion.
So, all right, it's plus 110 on the over, minus 130. So the under is the favored outcome here, right? Vegas is not saying here's what we think is going to happen. I would imagine the Niners bring a high volume of betting. They're a very public team.
Yes.
So just explain the number at 10.5 and the under being the favorite outcome.
So what you notice with win totals is that this is a 5-6 month bet, depending on when you place it. Nobody wants that to end in a push. It's just a brutal outcome for everyone because it's like, what were we doing here? The books held your money for 6 months and then they got to give it back. You grind this whole thing out. So you'll notice most teams, you won't get 10, 8, 6. They want to give you the halves so that we have a decision. But in order to balance that out sometimes, you got to work the juice. So maybe the best number for the Niners is 10 and minus 110 both ways, meaning you risk $110 to win 100. Standard bet with a point spread or a total in the NFL. But here they say to themselves, look, we don't want a scenario where we have a push. Let's hang 10.5. And because we're going a little bit higher and we think we're going to take some under bets, let's juice the under to make it worth our while and make it a little bit more penal for those who see the under as an opportunity, but might be scared off by the juice. So that's kind of what that's about. You'll see the juice staggered a little bit more on these because they want to be able to throw up a half number so that we get a decision where somebody wins rather than a push at the end of the year.
Well, and like the Lions are an example. The Lions are 10.5 and are minus 110 on the over and minus 110 on the under.
Yeah. Good balance there for them. Good team. They're very healthy last year. I know they got banged up late in the year, but there was a lot to like with that schedule. You know about this because he played at Cal. Jared Goff is very much an indoor-outdoor guy. He's starting to put some of that to bed, but the bad weather at times has been problematic, and they had so many dome games last year, and I don't think they played a single outdoor game past like October 20th, something like that. It was a game at Soldier Field. So it couldn't have set up better for them last year with all the indoor games.
Well, the Niners will play, since you said October 20th, the Niners will play basically 2 after the middle of October at the Giants at the beginning of November, and Cleveland, which is, the weather plus the defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz versus Kyle Shanahan, et cetera. Niners, there's only 2 teams that are favored in more games than San Francisco, the Chiefs and the Bills. And then there's 3 teams that are all favored in 15 games. The Niners, the Eagles, and somebody else I can't remember. So I've got, for those watching, I've got it here. The Niners are underdog. The early lines, the Niners underdogs against the Rams week 5 and against the Bucks week 6. The week 6 game is interesting because the Niners are coming off a Thursday night and the Bucks are coming off a road game in Seattle.
That game's in Tampa, I take it, obviously, if the Bucks are going to be favored.
Yep.
So the Niners have 10 days to get ready for that game?
Niners are +3 rest differential.
So they're playing Thursday, and then wow, is that so you're going to play Thursday? You're going to get 10 days. What's the line? Is it just like 1?
1.5. I've got it on the screen. I don't know if you can see the screen or not, but I've got it on the screen.
I can. It's small. One thing about me staring at screens for so long, it's finally starting to destroy my eyesight. I used to have wonderful eyesight, and I'm starting to notice now I'm squinting more.
My eyesight, it used to be wonderful.
Oh, it was the best eyesight. No one could top my eyesight. Doctors said they've never seen eyesight like this before. It's the greatest. And now all of a sudden, it's not. See, I can do that here and we can laugh. If I do that in some other spots, everyone puckers up real quick, wondering how far that joke's going to go. But to the point, Tampa's going to be solid. So if you want to hang them at 1, but when I see that, that's more respect for the Niners than it is the Bucks. Like generally home field advantage, working theory is it's about 3 points. Now, given the fact that guys fly private now, the bodies have gotten used to the ability, like teams are so efficient with how to handle travel that the full 3 points for home field is kind of out the window outside of some key places like if the Saints are good and it's a Monday night game or the Seahawks are good and it's a primetime game, those crowds can affect. But I think it's more respect that the Niners aren't catching a full 3 there. That tells you anywhere else they like the Niners a lot more than the Bucks.
So where are you, by the way? Like, like the way you work is not. I got to watch it up close and learn it. Like the way you work, and all you guys in the gambling world, it's not like I bet all 32 totals. Like you pick the ones you like. There's some you hate, and then whatever. So what category would you put the Niners? Where you would fall on 10.5?
Like them. I like them a lot. It's absolutely a bet I'm making. What I'm going to do, and this might not be the best, because in this line of work, you always hear get the best number, get the best value. One thing I've learned with win totals, I don't want to come out firing on any overs too early and then watch a guy wreck his knee in training camp. Or, I mean, the Niners did a great job keeping this secret forever, but if you had found out about Christian McCaffrey 2 weeks out rather than the day of the first game, you would have had more pause there. I've been burned on that before. I remember Michael Vick wrecking his ankle, broke his ankle in a preseason game, and it just destroyed Atlanta's season. So I might not get the best numbers, but at least I'm avoiding that injury pitfall. Unders I'll bet early. Unders can only be benefited by injuries. Overs, I would wait. But I like the Niners for all the reasons, the injury concerns. I think there's still some issues with the O-line. Still some issues with the secondary. Like the roster's got problems, but when your crossover is the AFC South and the NFC South, on top of the last place schedule giving you Chicago, like of all the teams to get in the NFC North, you're going to want Chicago probably more than anybody else. I love the way that they're set up. And Shanahan's able to outcoach the guy on the other sideline more times than not. And when you talk about him being a dog to McVay, historically, Shanahan has done outstanding against Sean McVay. People will immediately say, oh, well, the NFC Championship game, that's a big game. Yeah, but look at everything in totality. When the teams are even close to even, Shanahan has the edge more often than not. So, yeah, I do like the Niners over the 10.5. I think they're going to be a force. The question is, are they a real player for the Super Bowl? You get to 11 wins, yeah, but you still wonder, you're going to be asking more of Brock Purdy this year, and I wonder if he's the guy that can put him over the top in the big spot when you need the quarterback to win you the game.
Yeah, I think I've got the NFC, the odds to win the NFC here. Eagles +310, Lions +450, then the Niners are +800, then Washington, the Rams, the Packers, the Vikings. I think you could argue 3 of those 4 teams Well, at least two of those four teams might be due for, I don't want to sound like analyst, gambling guy, regression.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Washington. I don't know where you are on the Packers. I think the Rams, I think, will be good. But like when you take a step back and look at the NFC, it is not the AFC. To state a fact and an opinion, it's not the AFC in terms of competitiveness for, at the highest level.
Without question. In the AFC, if you look historically at the AFC North, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, when they step outside their division, their record against the spread is insane because they're so much better than I think most people realize. They're just two or three of the teams, right, are not going to win that division. You're going to have the winner. You're going to have two that are towards the bottom, and then maybe another team that'll just be hovering right next to Baltimore at the top there. So you think, all right, you got a division winner. The others aren't so good. No, they're so battle-tested against each other. They perform very well outside the division. The Niners being third, for those who look at it and say, okay, Vegas is saying they're third best, don't do that, because what factors into the lines that I think people don't realize is you have the Eagles, the Lions, then the Niners. Some might say, well, what about Green Bay? What about Minnesota? What about Washington? Remember, if you don't win your division, you're getting a wild card spot. And you're not going to put Philly and Washington ahead of the team that you're projecting to win the NFC West if that team is going to be good. So, they're going to put Philly up, but they're going to hang the Niners before Washington, because why would you put shorter odds on a wild card team if the Niners are projected to win their division and at the very least host a game on wild card weekend? So all that has to get factored in as well.
All right, can I see? Hold up your notepad there. What notes are we not hitting? Tell me what you've prepared for here.
I had Niners, which I think we've covered everything I wanted to talk about.
Purdy for MVP.
2-6 in one-score games. That's another big indicator. Over a large enough sample size, for those who don't know this, you hear this in the gambling community it's all the rage this time of year, and you'll hear it with a team like Kansas City. We can get to them in a minute. One-score games decided by one score, 8 or fewer points if you factor in the two-point conversion. Over a large enough body of work, sample size, say 500 games, you should be 500 in those games. You should be 250 and 250. Every now and again, you hit the game-winning field goal. Every now and again, they do. Every now and again, your game-winning drive stalls out. Every now and again, theirs does. Large enough body of work, you should be 50-50. Anytime you see a team that far outside the average, so 8-1 in one-score games. Kansas City last year, 12-0 in one-score games, right? That is a sign that at some point, again, here's the R word, regression, it's coming for you. And when you look at the Niners being 2-6 in one-score games, yeah, that's another positive for the Niners coming into this season. Just like the injuries are another positive, just like the schedule is. The other part of the notes was Washington. I know you wanted to get into the Commanders here. You just tell me when you're ready, and I'll unload on them.
Right now.
How? All right, here comes the Washington analysis. So the win total is 9.5. The world's going to love them. The world loves Jaden Daniels. We love everything we saw last year. Cliff Kingsbury's a genius. How can this team not win 10 games if they were in the NFC Championship game last year? I'm going the other way. All right, let's start with this. We have something like this almost every year where there's the team that just comes out of nowhere and blows everyone away. All right, so one way I'm going to classify that is teams with odds of 150 to 1 or worse to win the Super Bowl coming back the next year to be 20 to 1 or better, right? That would tell us there was a massive surprise. Houston was one of those teams last year. No one thought anything of them. They surprised the hell out of everyone. Then everyone jumps on the train, and they were pretty good again this year. Suffered some injuries, took a little step back, but still pretty good. Over the last, I believe it's 4 years, we've had 8 teams that fit this qualifier. They were 150 to 1, and then they jumped to 20 to 1 the next year because they caught everyone by surprise. Of those 8 teams, 6 of them finished below 500 the following year. There is a major step back, or you could look at it as they were very fortunate in a few categories. For example, Washington. Jaden Daniels had 6 fourth-quarter comeback wins. That's not a sustainable plan of attack to just always come from behind. They had an easy schedule on top of that. I think the offensive line is still problematic. The defense is problematic. They're selling everyone on this. Hey, we got Debo and Laramie Tunsil. We address these problems. There's a reason the Niners couldn't get rid of Debo fast enough. There is a reason the Texans couldn't get rid of Laramie Tunsil fast enough. Remember that. If those were elite players that you won around, you don't push those guys out the door for pennies on the dollar. So we're going under on Washington, 9.5 is the thesis here.
That's a great gambling. I just think in general, because we talk about Purdy a lot, there's also just this other somebody asked me the other day, like, when are you going to buy into Brock? I'm like, I'm bought into what that's in time. Like the same answer for CJ Stroud, the same answer for Jaden Daniels. Were you in the Bay Area for the Colin Kaepernick experience? Or did you come after that?
Yes, I showed up right at the end. So my first December was the end of Harbaugh. It was like this wild thing. Donaldson got traded. The Giants had just won their third World Series. Harbaugh's leaving, and the Warriors dynasty started. I got there in December of 2014 when the Warriors won 9 in a row, and people were like, hey, they might win a playoff series this year. Maybe they make a little bit of noise if Bogut can stay healthy. Remember, those were the talking points. If Bogut can stay healthy, maybe we have a dynasty.
Yeah, one of the seminal moments in Bay Area sports history when Josh Donaldson was traded. I love that you love it. But my point is,
so much happening.
You came right. There was a point at one point in time. Ron Jaworski famously said that Colin Kaepernick could become the greatest quarterback of all time. And in hindsight, it's an insane thing to say. At the time, it was kind of nuts. But it was like, as we debate all the time, different takes. It was a debate and a talking point. My point is just like that you adjust, the league adjusts to you, the standard, the bar raises, expectations, schedules, teammates, all that stuff. So anyway. I find that Jaden Daniels, I like him, just like I like CJ Stroud. But after 1 year of CJ Stroud, it was like he's going to be a tier 1 quarterback. Well, I'll be very interested to see where Sando's list is. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I like the I think that's an interesting. How about is there something else you like Lions? I think the Lions are one of the most fascinating teams in the league this year. Do you have a take on the Lions?
I got one on Kansas City. I'll give you in a little bit.
Okay.
But with the Lions,
we're almost out of time.
Okay, so real quick on the Lions then. The thought is, how much does it hurt to lose the coordinators because you still are bringing back all the players and Campbell? Yeah. So, I know a lot of people are like, I don't know about it. The coordinator loss is big, but they're going to be healthier. I'm more pro-Lion than I am anti-Lion, okay. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
And then for the Chiefs, the big one on the Chiefs. So Chiefs fans have been all over me for a couple months on this now because I like under 11.5 wins, right? I'm not saying they win 3 games. I'm just saying you don't win 12. Oh, we hear this every year. You've won 17 straight one-score games. That's going to fall off. You're not going to have this run of luck where Denver's game-winning field goal gets blocked. Isaiah likely steps out of bounds. The Bengals commit a stupid penalty. It was a list of things breaking their way. It ain't going to happen. The offensive line is still a concern. The division's getting better. The schedule's difficult. I don't think the defense is going to be as solid. You've been to the Super Bowl 4 of the last 5 years. That takes its toll on your body. Remember that. Remember that when they go, let's say 10-7 next year. By the way, all these primetime games where they're going to have a target on their back. Remember that when they go 10-7 and everyone's like, well, I mean, you weren't really right, but kind of. Things are going to work against them in some of these games at some point. It's coming soon. People just are blinded by the fact that they've been so good for so long, but it doesn't last forever. Just look at the Celtics.
Yeah. I just, Philly not winning the Super Bowl would be, with all due respect, Joe. I would welcome Philly not winning the Super Bowl this year.
I don't see that happening. It's crazy as an Eagle fan and having worked in the Bay Area, the fact that the Niners and Eagles have this thing going on and how many people are just on me. That game where the Niners rolled into Lincoln Financial Field 2 years ago and just destroyed Philadelphia. That was just a miserable day for the mentions. I just throw the phone out.
It's you. It's you guys. It's the Eagles and anybody becomes a thing because of you guys.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm starting to realize we're not the most accepted fan base amongst other people around the country.
All right. What's the weather, by the way, today in Bristol? You and
Well, it's May, so you would think it'd be nice, but it's 57 degrees. Went for a run this morning. It was 46 in New England here. So it was 3 straight weeks of pouring rain. Then it was extremely hot. Now it's down to 46 degrees. I don't know. It'll probably be 90 tomorrow, and then it'll snow, and then it'll be winter. It's impossible to figure it out.
Not to go to weather as a topic, but I only bring it up for people listening on the podcast who need to understand that you're in a mesh.
Grateful Dead. You can see the dancing, the dancing bears.
What's that band called? The 312 section?
This is section 119. Look at you, you little hippie. Look at you.
Yeah, you've been to the Sphere, haven't you?
You know what? Outside of the UFC event, I have not. It's one of the big regrets. Fish was there right before we moved. I wasn't able to see him because of work. I left. The Dead have been there nonstop. I haven't been back for it. It's one of the all-time great regrets that I have not figured this out yet. Very embarrassing.
How many times you're on TV this week?
We're on Wednesday, Thursday in the evening, 6:30 to 7 p.m. And then Friday morning, get up, first take, nice little New York run before driving home.
ESPN. You ever see Jeremy Schaap? Is Jeremy Schaap around anywhere?
We share the Outside the Lines studio. That's where ESPN Bet Live is. It's the same studio. So you'll go in there sometimes and everything's out of place. You're like, what the hell is this? Who came in and messed with our shit? And then it'll be like, well, it's Jeremy Schaap Outside the Lines. It's like, that show's only won 500 Emmys. Okay, you can do what you like, but no one else is coming in here. We're gambling in here.
Good seeing you, bro.
You as well, Mr. Haberman. Thanks for having me.